Columnist and LGBT activist Dan Savage wrote an article for a publication called The Stranger, where he basically told liberals to get over it about Hillary's past on gay marriage. So let me give you some of his argument here. He says, "I'm for Hillary or Bernie, or both Hillary and Bernie. And I disagreed with her on marriage equality then, but I'm capable of taking yes for a motherfucking answer now. It's fucking moronic. It's political malpractice to attack a politician for coming around on your issues. There are lots of other issues the queer community is going to be pressing politicians on, from passing equal rights bills and trans rights bills to defeating anti-trans bathroom legislation. If politicians who are currently on the wrong side of any of those issues see no benefit to changing their position, if they see no political benefit, they're going to be harder to persuade. Why should they come around on our issues? Why should they switch sides or change their votes if we're going to go after them hammer and tongs for the positions they used to hold?" Okay, so on the one hand, it's a fair point. She's on the right side of it now, and that's a fact that needs to be discussed whenever talking about the issue. I mean, accuracy is accuracy, fair is fair, facts are facts. That is the reality. She's on the right side now. But I do think, and I like Dan Savage, so don't get me wrong here, but I do think that he missed the point a little bit, because, Dan, it's not about, hey, why did you take so long to come to the proper side of it? It's about, this is an indication of who Hillary Clinton is and who she'll be moving forward. And the idea is, hey, she's not really principled, and she's not really issue-oriented and focused, because if she was, perhaps she would have came around sooner. But it's more about political expediency, and it's more about testing the political winds and saying, okay, which way is it going? It's going that way. Oh, yeah, I'm on this side. Let me tell you, man. Totally. And with that kind of mindset, you are much more likely to abandon your principles and be swept up in a heat-of-the-moment kind of thing. And the perfect example of that is something like the Iraq War, where because all the other politicians were like, oh yeah, totally, it's the patriotic thing to be for this, because the media didn't do a good job fact-checking it, and because the general sentiment and feeling of the time was, come on, we got to get back for 9/11, right? So let's attack the wrong country. I mean, yeah, let's attack Iraq. Because of that, she ended up buckling, and she ended up voting for the Iraq War. Same thing with the Patriot Act. Hey, they call it the Patriot Act. I guess if I don't vote for it, I'm not a patriot. I must vote for it. Well, no, that was fallacious thinking. That was just wrong. And Bernie Sanders was principled enough and intelligent enough to say, yeah, I don't care about political expediency. I'm going to do what I think is right in my core, and I'm going to stick to my principles here. And I'm actually going to try to fact find and understand what's going on. And I don't believe Bush and Cheney. And I don't believe we get to rip up the Constitution and pretend like it doesn't exist, when it's inconvenient, because, hey, that Fourth Amendment is a bitch, isn't it? When you want to spy on everybody for some phantom threat. So that's really what it gets at, man. And Bernie Sanders came to the correct position 40 years before Hillary Clinton. 40 years. We're going to get to a segment in a little bit where it's Bernie Sanders in 1995 shouting down a Republican because a Republican besmirched what he called homos in the military. And Bernie's like, oh, really? That's who you're going to go after? There are gay people in the military who are protecting your punk ass right now. You're going to go after the thousands of people who are serving their country? You're going to besmirch the people who are protecting you simply because of their identity, something they can't control? Dude, this was in 1995. When I tell you gay rights issues were nowhere to be found at that point. I mean, nowhere to be found. He might be the only politician at the time that had the balls to stand up for the gay community at all. At all. So, look, it's not about, hey, it took her a long time to get to the right issue. It's about, what does that signal to us moving forward? It signals that she's not doing it based off principle. She's doing it based off the political feeling of the time and whatever's expedient at the time. And that explains a lot about Hillary Clinton. That explains why, she called young black men super predators at a given time. That explains why she was in favor of NAFTA, why she's in favor of permanent normal trade relations with China and all these outsourcing deals. That explains why she goes along to get along when it comes to Wall Street money. Was there a time when Hillary Clinton was not corrupt and bought? Yes, there was. We've spoken about it on the show. Elizabeth Warren talks about how she went to Hillary to try to get Bill Clinton to veto a bill. It was a bankruptcy bill that biased the laws in favor of the corporations. Hillary convinced Bill to veto that bill. So points for that, but then what happened? When she became a senator and she started taking money from Wall Street, she actually voted for the same legislation in favor of the bankruptcy bill that biased the laws in favor of the corporations. So that's what this is about, man. It's not about, hey, just on this issue, it was 2013 that she came out in favor of gay marriage. It took a while. It's about what is the signal going forward about her character and her ability to make decisions. Is she somebody who's going to be principled? Is she somebody who's going to stand up against an overwhelming feeling that could be dead wrong? And look, the takeaway from that is certainly nowhere near to the extent that Bernie Sanders would stand on principle. And when you have a choice in a primary election between one candidate who has the record to back it up and the other candidate who's more, I'll get around to it, maybe kind of on some issues, there is no choice there. There is no debate there.